Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lush Life, No
No
Label.
labels.
I'm Michelle.
And this is Alfredo. And we have a special guest, a friend of ours on the show today.
Yes, we do. Would you like to introduce our guest?
I think our guest should introduce himself.
For sure. Thank you for having me onto this amazing platform. My name is Sid. And yeah, I'm very thrilled to be here with.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
coming on.
joining us today. So, Sid and I actually know each other because we went to grad school together and developed a friendship from that. And especially for our topic today, I think you are a great person to speak to about this. It's a discussion that we've sort of briefly touched on before, but I'm definitely excited to dive into today.
All right, story of the week. Basically, I have been single for over 2 years and I'm starting to meet somebody now. Obviously, in those 2+ years, I've had a lot of dating experiences, Tinder meetups, Grindr hookups, whatever, meeting just random people in real life or through apps. And I've had a lot of good experiences, but a lot of bad experiences. What's been interesting is meeting and getting to know this new person is it's made me realize how some of those negative experiences that I've had prior have affected me going into this with him. Even though he hasn't done anything to me, it's just I have some of things in the back of my mind, the way I react to things and the way I kind of approach the whole relationship. So I guess specifically one thing that happened was that we were supposed to hang out on a Friday night. And then he told me, actually, I have a family event that I should go to and canceled on me. And old me would have been maybe annoyed about that and maybe been dramatic or I don't know, some toxic shit. But I was trying to be more mature about it and say, you know what, I actually understand. I understand you have other commitments and other things, other people that you need to see that are important
And
to
his
you.
family is very important.
And so I obviously understood that. And I've been in the flip side where I've been seeing somebody and I tell them, actually, I really want to see my friend. I want to talk to my friend. I want to do something with my family. And I've had them try to make me feel bad or guilt trip me for doing that. Like, oh, like you don't want to spend time with me and make it kind of dramatic and some gaslighting, toxic shit. So I tried to be mature in this situation, right? But I definitely still have a lot of past experiences that affect me. And that's kind of where we're going with the topic of today's podcast.
Exactly. This week, we really want to talk about dating traumas, we'll call it generally,
What
and
what
try
is
to
dating
define what we mean
traumas?
by
Like
that.
what is that for you?
For me, a dating trauma is something that, whether it's an emotion or an action or something that triggers you that occurred in a past relationship or romantic encounter, that if you are reminded of that specific situation again or certain words, you have a physical or emotional, just like any other trauma, but I think it's just things that specifically are related to dating. And we wanted to make a distinction between that and something that Sid, you were saying, is an ick.
Yeah, it's completely different when compared to an ick. An ick can be they chew too loudly. Okay. That is an ick. And people do that. Dating trauma is something that you carry forward from partner to partner and you kind of have to work through that. And I feel like once we all share our stories, it'll become apparent what an ick is and what a dating trauma is.
Is this a defined psychology term or is it something we're kind of making up for
I'm
today?
not a psychologist,
Yeah, no, I think we're
so
making this
I'm just
up.
making it up.
But I think we got the point across.
Yeah, exactly. Like people who know what we're talking about, they'll understand
For
the
sure.
term ick and the term dating trauma.
What we want to do today is sort of go around and each talk about one type of trauma or sort of response that we have or have had from previous relationships that we've realized we have carried on other romantic encounters. Let's just dive right in. We'll start with Alfredo. Do you want
Okay.
to tell us your
Honestly, I would say that it hasn't been from a relationship per se, but just through a lot of experiences of meeting people, original first meetups, I've gotten excited about people and thought, oh, maybe this will be different. Maybe this something will come out of this. I get excited and then I end up getting ghosted. And because of that, just having been ghosted many times, it's made me much more on guard when I meet new people, where even if I want to be excited about the new person, I try to kind of play it cool, not
Can
to,
I ask you a question?
yes.
When in these instances when you've been ghosted, can you take us back to that moment? What were you thinking at the time? Not necessarily about that other person. I know I've definitely been ghosted before, and I too have ghosted people.
Okay, I've done it too.
When
Yeah.
we are the person who's been ghosted, what have you thought about yourself in that moment?
For me, I feel like when I've been ghosted, I think about how we obviously did not see the encounter the same way or the meetup, and it wasn't mutual because obviously I wanted to see the person again and this person didn't want to, so they ghosted me, right? When I've been in those situations, it's kind of made me question, oh, did this person really like me that much? Like I was excited about meeting this person, and then I guess it was not reciprocal because obviously we are.
Did it cause you to doubt your self-confidence?
No, I don't think I'm at this point where those sort of things don't affect my self-confidence, but it definitely makes me more guarded and
Why?
more
What about somebody ghosting you makes you more guarded?
because I think when I like somebody, I want to express it that I like them, that I'm excited about seeing them. And I feel like I've had that happen and it's perceived as being like clingy or intense, needy. And so moving into meeting new people, I try not to be that so, off the bat intense maybe or excited or expressive about how I feel. I feel like it scares people off and
So you're saying because you've been ghosted in the past, you are less likely to put an effort into a new romantic encounter with the fear that you are coming on too. Is that what you're saying?
for sure, yeah, because I feel like, you start making yourself available to somebody, you start being vulnerable, and then you get ghosted, or they kind of, not a direct ghost, but like a Casper. Oh, I don't have
Not Casper the
time. Like,
friendly ghost. No, but wait. Let's not slander Halloween just passed. Halloween Casper was the friendly ghost.
but that's what I'm saying. It's not like they block you, but they start giving you excuses. The
Is that really
communication
friendly though when
fizzles
someone
out.
gives you excuses and slowly ignores you over time until they finally I don't think that's very nice. Again, we will not be slandering Casper on this podcast. No, no.
But you know what I mean? It's not like a block, you're ghosted directly, but it's
It's
more
not
like
aggressive. It's
like
very
the
silent. I'm going to
communication
back
like
out.
dies out and it's sad, and then you just feel like, oh, is this gonna keep happening when I actually get excited about somebody
Yeah.
meeting somebody new? And it's funny because Michelle and I have known each other since we were like 18, and I remember when I was 18, I didn't have as many of these kind of experiences, I guess, at that point. And I remember getting so excited. But when you're that young, you're actually really excited, like, wow, I'm going on a date. I'm excited. And I don't want to lose
Hey,
that
did you go
side
on a
of
lot
me.
of dates in freshman year of college? No,
No,
I
the
don't think we
hookups,
did.
the hookups.
Yeah, but that's not a date.
No,
We
but
could
even then, I just mean
do a
like,
whole other podcast about just college because we have a lot of things to say.
but I
That's for
just mean, I think the whole thing is like when you're younger, you get really excited about meeting people. But as you get older, you have these sort of experiences and it puts you more kind of, you're on guard, you're guarded about meeting new people because you're like, oh, but it's a balance because I try not to be, naive about meeting new people, but you still want to be able to get excited about.
yeah, for sure. And I think that that's something that I don't know if Sid can relate to that, but I definitely relate to being ghosted by people in the past. It does suck in the moment. And like I said, I am guilty of doing that too, because I think part of ghosting too is not necessarily that the person's always wanting to be malicious, but when I've ghosted people, it's because it was just awkward I didn't know how to end things with them. And I think I've learned this over time as I've gotten older of, okay, here's like a way to end a relationship, or it's sometimes like, oh, we're not in a relationship, but we've been seeing each other for a little bit and I don't really know what to say, but I don't really want to, or something like that. And that's really what you should say. But in the moment, it's when I've ghosted people, it's because I don't know how to actually end that situation.
Yeah, I think I've also ghosted people. Actually, I've been ghosted way more, which is perfectly fine. I don't care about that. But I think the emotional intelligence of letting the person know that,
Mhm.
hey, it's really not working. I had a great time, but I just don't, that's not a good fit. It's difficult because we just don't know how to communicate at that. And for me, it's mostly been like online dating, and ghosting is so easy. You can either just
Yes.
block the person, or you could just unmatch, or you could just not respond because you don't really owe anyone anything. But it does make you wonder, where
Mhm.
did I go wrong? And you don't want that.
Exactly. That is such a big question of ghosting. Where did I go wrong? That's what I always used to think when I was ghosted.
But
But I
I don't
wanna,
think that it's always about where you went wrong. Like you don't know what's going on in the other
oh, of
person's
course.
head.
But
Yeah.
it's one question that crosses my mind when that happens. Obviously, I don't necessarily blame myself for them ghosting me, but I do think it's something that we all question. Why? Because there is an inherent question of why has this person stopped communicating?
Exactly.
And they haven't indicated to me because obviously I was ghosted. But that's thank you, Alfredo, for providing your dating trauma. We're gonna move on to Sid's dating trauma.
Oh,
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about?
thank you, Michelle. I want to share this one story that always stands out to me because I think it was so unexpected. I met this person, for record purposes, we'll call them Albert. We went to we went to a very nice Mexican restaurant to get some drinks. And, I was still in grad school, and we were just talking about like how they work in biotech, and I want to go pivot in the healthcare industry and all that stuff. And suddenly everything was going right until they asked this question, like why I swiped right on them. And I was like, oh, like I thought you had a nice personality, worked in biotech, all that stuff. And they went, and I asked why me, and they were like, oh,
Can I just say something really quickly?
yeah.
I've gotten that question so many times of why did you swipe right on me? And I don't respond to that. When somebody asks me that, I immediately stop talking to them. Why did you swipe right on me? You looked at my profile and you saw what you liked. Don't ask me these dumbass questions.
Exactly.
I feel like that. I also
Sorry,
feel
I
like
just
that.
really derailed there.
That's a side point, but
That is a question I've gotten too much and it just pisses me off.
I've never gotten that, but I feel like that speaks to like the insecurity of the person, kind of.
Exactly. I've already validated you because I'm going to respond. If I didn't, well, I validated you because we matched. And secondly, you'll know why I swiped if I respond back to that message. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was so thrown
I was
off.
triggered by that.
No. This is supposed to be a conversation for sure. Please jump in. I asked the question, naive 23-year-old me. I was like, okay, what happened? Why did you swipe right on me? And they're like, oh, you seemed cool. Not like you're someone from like a magazine or something. You're not like a model. That immediately triggered my
Yeah.
body
That's
insecurity. We all work hard to
say to someone at a Mexican restaurant, sir, I'm just trying to have some tequila.
Exactly. And I'd mentioned it to them that I love a good margarita. So I think that was my last straw. And even though I persevered the entire night talking to this person, but that really did trigger me because, growing up, we've just been insecure about how our bodies look, and this gay beauty standard of you're supposed to look a certain type of way. It just really made me think about everything twice before ever meeting up with someone after, wondering that is this person really attracted to me, or is this just like a task that they're just checking off their to-do list. So, oh, I matched this guy, I'm going to go on a date with them.
So let me ask you, in that situation, or in terms of you changing your behavior because of something like this, did this play a role on your personal self-esteem?
Yeah, Yes, absolutely. I was so shattered. I was like, oh my God, am I ever gonna fit the criteria of beauty standard that is just so unrealistic? Yeah, it was, I would never see this man.
And in terms of the dating piece of it, so obviously it definitely played on self-esteem, but what do you think about the set? Like, you were on a date with this person and they said this to you. Is that really what people should be doing during a dating encounter?
Oh my God, no. The first time you ever meet someone, I don't think so. That's something that you should even be considering or talking about. You don't know this person, you're strangers, you're supposed to just get to know them, ask them the basic questions about their lives, their story as much as they want to share, and not telling that they're not a model, but they're cute, their personality is cool.
Yeah. And I would laugh in their face if they said that to me because I wouldn't even know what to say at that point. And then I would probably definitely get up and go.
I think it though in the gay world that's pretty common, just feeling
Okay,
completely judged
I
based
see.
on
The
your
level of
body and your
insult would be,
appearance.
yeah, the amount of insults I would feel would be insurmountable. I don't know what I would do. I would def laugh in their face just for asking me such a foolish question.
But
But
Sid, I guess you're older now since that incident. Obviously, it's something you still think about, but do you think now you have the self-assurance that if you're ever to be in a situation where you go on a date with some asshole like that were to say something like that, you're like, like I'm leaving. Because it's something I've thought about for myself because I've been in maybe not exactly that, but I've been in situations where I meet up with some asshole guy who's not even treating me nicely. And when I was younger, maybe I would have stayed, but now I'm just like, I'm leaving. I did not like that. But it's something like you get more confidence as you get older.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even though I haven't dated in a very long time, but if something like that were to happen again, I know that I would just walk away. I would be like, I appreciate your time, thanks, but this is long
actually, I don't.
enough. This has gone long enough, and please let me know how much I owe you for this one drink that you bought me.
Low
And walk away.
key, if you insult me, I'm out. I'm not paying for it. Like, you're lucky I showed up here at this point because what?
Also,
You're lucky this didn't turn into an episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, boo. Okay, come on now.
you've been awfully quiet, and I would love to hear some of your
Which
Yeah,
one in
so
particular?
oh, Alfredo, I love how you said that because I do have a lot of examples of dating traumas. But the one I'm just gonna focus on today is really being gaslit in romantic situations or really that make you second guess yourself. And I think that that's one of the key themes that we've all sort of touched on so far is that I've been in situations where I've dated someone. Well, I'll take one example where I dated someone for some time and there were red flags in there that I should have paid attention to at some time, but I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt and I didn't want to necessarily end things because a minor offense or whatever it may be. And so I gave it time because everyone says, oh, in a relationship, you have to work on it and you have to choose to be there. So I wanted to try this thing out. However, I think over time, what I realized was that I started really second guessing myself in different things. So it was just little comments that they would have, and not necessarily comments about me, but comments about other people that were just out and about living their lives. And I started realizing that this person is so pressed about what everybody else is doing. It seems like they just want to control what everyone else is doing. And I started realizing that I was actually one of the people that they were trying to control with some of their actions or the way that they responded to me. And I had realized that I had started feeling these things. And so everything I started doing around them was to sort of please them, to make sure I didn't push their button, all of these things. And I realized that I was acting differently than myself, and that everything I was doing was basically to placate this person. But I lost confidence in myself. I lost confidence in the way that I could trust myself in ways because I needed validation from them. I needed them to sign off on things. And I realized that I did not want to be like that. And after that type of situation in the future and now, it's really important for me to stand my ground in things and be honest with myself, because obviously it's important to be honest with the person that you're dating, but you need to be honest with yourself before you're even trying to deal with something. You don't want to lose yourself in a situation or in a relationship because you want to keep the peace. I'm not going to bring in family things right now, but one of the things that I grew up, I wanted to have as little conflict as possible because that was the best way. And I realized that that's actually a trauma growing up that I brought into dating, and it was a dating trauma that had followed me. So now for me, I am not doing that. If I'm feeling some type of way, I'm going to bring it up. We're going to talk about it and move on. It's not an argument, but I do think addressing things and being myself and staying true to myself is something that is very important to me that I could not deal with or did not know how to maturely handle for a very long time.
Beautifully said, Michelle.
No, and I think that I hope for everybody here, this is true that you do have these traumas, but you can kind of be aware of them and learn from these bad experiences and to try to have healthier relationships going forward.
Exactly.
On that note, we wanted to wrap up with some questions for our listeners, kind of related to that. So, Michelle, why don't you ask the first question?
So my first question, think about the romantic encounters or relationships that you've been in the past and that you're currently in. Are you aware of any things that may affect you in a current relationship that has sort of been brought up or coming along with you from a previous relationship? Essentially, are you aware of the emotional baggage that you carry? I think it's important for all of us to be honest with ourselves about things like that because we do all have baggage. That's my question.
Another kind of follow-up thing that I mentioned is, being aware of how your past experiences, negative past experiences affect you, right? And you can have that affect you when you meet new people. I guess the question really is having these kind of dating traumas, what do you do about it when you want to start meeting new people? Do you have to take time to yourself to heal and get over those things, or do you think that those are things that you can work on while you're getting to know somebody?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think we've touched upon some very important pieces about dating, and as you're positioning yourself to meet this new person and discover likes, dislikes, whatnot, it's very important to ask yourself how much of their baggage are you willing to accept? Like, are you going to be one of those people that would stay with them and help them through it? Or do you want them to figure it out on their own and then come back to you?
That's a hard one. And one thing that Michelle and I have talked about is that we'd been single for a long time.
You don't need to keep reiterating all of that, Alfredo. Let's move on.
And I think that once you've been single for a long time, you get used to just being independent and autonomous. And so you start meeting somebody new. And I have to say, I've done this many times.
I know.
And they do one little thing that bothers you, and you're like,
And you're ready to pack up your bags.
you're like, it's like I'm over this, no more. And
That's definitely how I have been.
That's an ick.
Yeah, it's icks, but for me, I'm like, I can't. They just did this, even if it's a petty thing. You're just so ready to move on because you've been single for so long that you haven't had to deal with someone else and how they feel or how they act. You only have yourself.
It's the independence of being by yourself, having your own space. And when you start to share that, you kind of get irritated with the little things that they do. They'll just leave a dish here, or they will not take off their shoes on your carpet. Little things like that.
and then you kind of fixate on it, and you're like, you know what? Like, that's not gonna work. Like,
We're not going to turn this into an episode of icks, but yes, right. So just generally think about that. Obviously, people come with a lot of other serious baggage. And so sometimes it is important for us to, maybe you do want to get to know someone or you're in a current relationship and you want to accept them for those things. But I do think it's important not only that they are working on that, if it's something that's going to affect you and the relationship, but also just so that they are healthy and mature enough to be in a relationship with you, because you do not want to be brought down by because somebody else has a lot of baggage. That's not good for anybody. And so I do think it's important for us to gauge whether something is just an ick and maybe we're being a little petty and can let that slide, or if it's something serious where maybe that's not the right time to enter into a relationship or a situationship with that person.
And with that, let's wrap it up. Thank
Great.
you to our guests for coming on the
Yes, Sid,
show.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for
And
having
thank you to all our listeners.
Yes, thank you all again for continuing to keep up with us. Feel free to share this with your friends and your family as well.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Bye. See you next time.